To lead or not to lead, Chris Mortensen.
I'm in 8th grade woodshop class. My highly underappreciated teacher, Mr. Choice, average man, late 30s, he has a strange, oversized Hitler mustache. He addresses the class. All right, class, here's what we're going to do. We're going to turn this classroom into a workshop. We are going to mass produce the next product that we're going to build. We'll decide what it's going to be later, but the first thing we need to do is decide who's going to be the leader, the foreman. Do I have any volunteers? I'm sitting there thinking, should I volunteer for this? Leading's kind of cool. Sounds like everybody else will be doing work and I'll be doing pretty much nothing. But I've never done this before. I've never led before. Wait, this is 8th grade. Nobody's ever led before. I'm as qualified as anybody. Should I or shouldn't I? Fellow Toastmasters, guests, and everybody in this room who has had to decide whether they should step up and lead or not. To lead or not to lead? That is the question. Should you or shouldn't you? It's a tough thing, leadership. There are institutions built entirely to study and to teach leadership. In fact, I know some organizations that actually teach it around here. John Maxwell sums up leadership very simply. He says in this book, The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, leadership is influence. Nothing more, nothing less. And that applies whether you're a formal leader with a title and all sorts of written responsibilities and authority to make people do things, or maybe no authority, like the president of your club. Or if you are an informal leader who is just taking charge and helping with an effort even though you have no title. Trust me, informal leaders can make a big difference too. Maybe you've heard of this guy Gandhi, Mother Teresa, John. These people didn't have a title for the causes that they led. They just had a passion. So should you or shouldn't you? That's the question I pose. I had this conundrum when I was dealing with Cub Scouts, as my son became a Cub Scout. And I'm going to tell you the 3 things that I thought were the most important questions I had to answer. And maybe you can ask those questions to yourself if you're pondering this question. So Cub Scouts. Never was a Cub Scout, never went to a meeting as a kid, didn't know a thing about it. My son comes home one day from 1st grade. My best friend's dad is the Cub Scout leader for his den. Can I join? Sure, son, sounds great. Let's go. So we went. I wanted to get involved too, so after dropping him off the first couple of weeks, I thought, let's check this out. Maybe I can help out. Because I kind of wanted to lead. I kind of wanted to help out because I like kids and I'm a pretty decent leader, I think, or at the time I really didn't know. So I show up. The meetings are chaos. The brochures I had seen when I was in elementary school that showed what Cub Scouts was all about that I never went to, that's not what I was seeing. These kids were getting candy at the beginning of the meetings, doing a few activities in the workbooks, and then they were running around like crazy people. And they were having a great time. They were having fun. And the leaders were cool with that, right? And this was happening both at the weekly den meetings and the monthly pack meetings where all 5 grades of kids come together. It was kind of chaotic. I wasn't inspired to join them. I wasn't going to jump on board and help with this cause. But mostly because I really didn't know how to help them because I didn't have the knowledge, skills, and attitude to be a leader. So number 1 is, are you the right person? Are you the right person to step up and lead? I had no knowledge of Cub Scouts, so I was the wrong person to help. They needed help. They needed help with leadership, but I was the wrong guy. About a year later, we moved to Colorado Springs. We live near Peterson Air Force Base, so my son gets involved in a club, in a pack there. Totally different experience, folks. These guys knew what they were doing. Okay, there were Chief Master Sergeants, Senior Master Sergeants, all who'd been Eagle Scouts, and there were tons of these guys coming out of the woodwork, helping out, running this thing like an efficient military organization. Those kids' uniforms looked good. They were saluting the flag and doing their swearing, and all this stuff was great. It was just like the brochure said it was supposed to be. Campouts and marshmallows and field trips and doing all kinds of great things. And I thought, wow, this is what it's supposed to be like. I was inspired. I was motivated. I watched for a couple of months and I learned what I was supposed to do. When I read the books, it said what the leaders were supposed to do. So I said, how can I help? I'm ready, because I was ready, right? They said, oh, we got it. Turns out there was no need for me to lead. So that's the second thing. There's no need to lead. You can't jump up and lead because you're just going to get in the way of the people who are already doing it and doing it well. That's okay. Because a year later, we moved to the Air Force Academy because I got base housing up there. And when we moved there, they had another pack that was different from the other two. This pack, they were great at the den level. The individual grades were doing great. A lot of leadership, a lot of good stuff going on, but the pack meetings once a month were just chaotic. They were dull, they were weird. So I found out why. Because the guy who was supposed to be in charge, the Cub Master, had been deployed about 2 weeks into the year, and his poor wife, who was the secretary, was trying to do his job too. And she'll tell you, I'm a great secretary, but I hate being a Cub Master. I hate getting up in front and talking to people. We should sign her up for Toastmasters. She didn't want to do it, so I said, you know what? There's a need, and I'm ready to lead. I'm ready. So would you like me to step up and take over in the near future? She said, can you start tomorrow? And I said, hold on a minute. Let me think about it, because the third thing is, what's your reason for doing it? What is your reason? Are you going to be committed to doing it? In Good to Great, Jim Collins talks about leadership, and he says leaders have this dichotomy about them. There is this professional will. They are not going to let anything stand in their way. They're going to do whatever it takes. They're going to make hard decisions, and they are going to succeed. But that is paired with a personal humility that says it's not about the leader, it's about the organization, it's about the cause. So what was my reason for wanting to do this? It wasn't about me. I wanted my son and his friends and their siblings and parents and everybody involved to have that cool experience I had seen down the road at Peterson and have the fun I had seen in Alabama. And there was nobody else stepping up to do this. So the knowledge and skills and attitude, by the way, attitude makes up a whole lot if you don't have the knowledge and skill. If you have the right attitude, you need to step up and take charge. The greater the need, the less that other stuff matters. So step up if you have the opportunity. Take that opportunity and make the most of it for yourself. I didn't know what I was doing when Mr. Choice asked me to step up. And that's a good thing too, because I probably wouldn't have done it, and I have always been glad when I have stepped up and taken that lead. Thank you.